Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out, and we're obviously excited to start the 2018-19 season. I'll turn it over to everybody for questions. We'll go from there. Lance was anxious there.
Go ahead, Ty.
Kyle, let's get this out of the way. Welcome back. Can
you.
you give us an update on Nylander?
No update. We're continuing to have dialogue with them. This is not an uncommon situation, and there's many of these happening throughout the league with restricted free agents. Continue to have dialogue with their side, and when we have an update, you'll receive it, and we'll go from there. So.
It looked like a busy off-season in terms of changing some things in the hockey structure. You could talk about the new guys, and seems to be a big Tim Speltz influence right now.
Well, I mean, I think the fortunate thing for me, Lance, was coming in here. This is going to be my 5th season with the organization, and it wasn't as though I was coming into an organization, have to learn the ins and outs of it. I knew a lot of the people and a lot of our staff and what they could offer. And with us, we were able to elevate a lot of our people internally. Dave Morrison, to our director of player personnel, he's been with the organization for a long time, has done an excellent job. And then John Lilly, Tim Speltz, and Ari Vori will essentially head up our amateur department. We add Wes Clark in player personnel and elevate Jim Paliafito as well. So they're important on our player personnel side, and Troy Bodie becomes our director of pro scouting. So we're very content with our player personnel department. Look forward to working with them, certainly.
Kyle, no captain. I know you talked a little bit about it last week. It
Sure.
seems to be a bit of a trend in the NHL these days. What's your perspective on why, if you could elaborate?
Well, I think it's an important distinction, and I think with things of that stature and nature, Kevin, I never want to rush into it. It's my first year as a general manager of this group. We've obviously added a player to our mix that's been a captain for a long time before, and we have some excellent existing leaders, and we have young players that have leadership qualities to them that we're going to continue to try to develop them. And I think that patience in this matter is much better in the long run than rushing to name a captain to pacify the demand that we have a captain. And I think that best serves the organization, and it best serves the leaders in our group. And it gives you guys something to write about when things are slow. So, mission accomplished.
Hey, Kyle. Good morning.
Morning, Terry.
The defense core as it stands, are you happy with it going forward and looking ahead to next spring when a lot of people expect this team to make a long run in the playoffs? And I know a lot of us are wondering about Nylander, but I'm just wondering if there's anything going on with Jake Gardiner and his contract status heading to UFA next summer.
Yeah, so I'll answer on the defense first. I guess they kind of lead into one another. I think I've been consistent in saying that I do like our defense. I probably I mean, when people ask, but I think they're asking, can you go out and land one of these high end top 10 defensemen in the league type people? But I think that underestimates what Morgan and Jake have done. And I think with Zaitsev healthy, with Travis Dermott continuing to develop, we've got Ron Hainsey there to solidify things. And then we've got a real good group of younger people coming up behind them. And I'm excited to see them in camp and early in the season. I've said continually I'm probably a little bit more bullish on them than people on the outside because I've been with those players every day for the last number of years, and I see what they're capable of. They play the game the way that we want to play it. They can all move. They can all move the puck, and they can help us get out of our own zone and up the ice. And I think if you have a set way that you want to play and play defensively and move the puck out of your end, you need to find players that play that style, not necessarily players that are the de facto top 2 or 3 defensemen in the league. And I think that'll always be a question until we show that we can do it, but there have been a number of teams in the league that have done it without those type of players in the last number of years. So that's the way that we're going through our process, and luckily we have some history recently that shows teams can have ultimate success with that style of defense group. Oh, Gardiner. So, yeah, Jake, we've, obviously Jake's an important player to us. He had an excellent season last season and has been a very good player for the Maple Leafs his whole time since he's come over in trade a long time ago now. So we'll continue to have dialogue with him and his representative and handle it the same way we handle all the rest of the discussions. But he's an important player for us for sure, and we'll just guide it through the year, and I think he knows how valuable he is to us, so it's all good.
Hey, Kyle, just wondering, winning a Calder Cup, being a playoff team, having a lot of talent, how different is it to attract players and or sign players now versus a few years ago?
Are you referencing would players be less inclined to be angry going to the Marlies? Is that the question?
Perhaps. However you want to interpret it.
Well, I think the way that we've run our entire program is that we have an atmosphere and environment down there that is very similar to the one that we have here, and that's with a huge focus on development. And I think that in going through it in the summer and dealing with free agents that are more inclined to be at that level, or when we're recruiting free agents, so when Jim Palafito's out recruiting players, or we are, and they're competing we are competing with other teams, it's been nice to hear that there's a belief that our development program is a very good one and compares with the others, top ones in the league. So I think that is what draws players to it. I don't think there are any negatives to going down to the Marlies, and the players that go down there know that the team is going to be competitive, and they know that the key focus is going to be on their individual development, and then we'll use that individual development to propel the team to more success. So that's our goal. It won't change with the Marlies for sure.
Kyle, since you've taken over the role of the GM, what's been the most challenging aspect of it so far? And on the flip side, what are you looking forward to most this year?
Challenging aspect. I think it would be much different if I was coming from a different place here or going from here to a different place. It's really not changed a whole lot. I haven't changed the way that I am. Whether that's right or wrong, time will tell. I think this is me. It's worked in the past, and I'll continue to try to develop and have it work in the future. I'm not going to change who I am or how I operate. I think I owe that to our staff and the players that we have here, and so I think just in terms of challenge, it's the highest league that you can work in. So the other general managers are very astute. They've been at it, most of them, a lot longer than I have in hockey or in their role, and so I think there's a lot that I can learn from them and a lot that I can learn from our staff, and I think that's why we're fortunate with the staff that we have in management with Lawrence and Brandon. And our entire group, and we also have Cliff and Brendan as well, that there's a lot of experience and valuable experience that I can lean on when needed, and I'm very fortunate to have that.
Just wanted to get your perspective on Ozhiganov and Lindholm and how much you were able, if any, to sort of watch them leading into bringing them in.
Well, I mean, they've been here every day for quite a while. They both made the commitment to come over very early, and I think they know that it's going to be very competitive. Usually those higher profile free agents, I think they at times can think that they're just going to be able to walk in. You can see by their actions that they know that we expect to be a competitive team and that they're not walking into a guaranteed spot. They know they have to come in and work for it. Both have had good track records either in the KHL or the SHL, and I've been impressed. This is scrimmage stuff. I don't read a whole lot into the performance in scrimmage, or even in the short term here as they begin to adapt. I'll start to make greater assessments of them as we get in through the weekend and in through exhibition. But just in terms of their personality, the way that they conduct themselves off the ice and the way that they are around the locker room, they both have brought a lot, and I'm excited to see them here this weekend in an exhibition. But they're not young free agents where they're in their early 20s and have to sort things out. They're guys that have a lot of professional experience as well. So it's not a surprise that they conduct themselves as professionally as they have.
Kyle, I know at the end of Mike Babcock's first year here, he talked about how there were more positions available on the team than there were probably NHL players that the organization had. But is that maybe what the management team's most proud of now that you've got that battle at whether it's fourth line center, backup goaltender, you name it, even at the Marlies, that there's genuine competition everywhere?
I don't think any coach is ever satisfied with anything. So I think the organization, thanks to the efforts of a lot of people, not just the management group, but our player personnel department, our development department, our R&D department, everybody, it's been a group effort. And because the process has gone the way that it has, and we've been able to install that, it's allowed for the team to develop people and players and to progress them along, and it gives the coaching staff and myself and our management team a greater selection to pick from, and I think that only helps the players as well. They know they're not walking into a situation where it's one or two people competing with them for ice time, Adam. There's a lot of players here that they know can play, and so you can never let your foot off the gas. You have to continue to work and develop. And 2014 when I started, we were not where we are now, but it's through the efforts of our whole staff and the players themselves. They're the ones that put the work in and the ones that play, and they've been able to really push this thing ahead. So it's nice to have that competition, and we're looking forward to it certainly come fall.
Kyle, last week in Chicago, there were a fair amount of elite players and sit-downs with them, notably Sidney Crosby, Jenny Malkin, Patrick Kane, Claude Giroux. They all said if you could pick one team other than your own that you consider a favorite for the Cup, they picked the Toronto Maple Leafs. Those are big expectations. What are your expectations, and what's your response to, this isn't media members, these are some of the elite players in the league that take a look at your team
Right.
and consider them that competitive?
Well, I think that expectations, you can look at them as two ways. You can look at them as pressure, or you can look at them as an opportunity that you've earned. And I think relative to our players, they've earned the respect of their peers through their performance to date. And obviously, I think John coming is the thing that sort of have moved our team into that upper echelon. We, in management, I don't think ever look at things that specific way. We want to build this and continue to abide by our process, and our goal is to sustain this for a long time. So it's nice to hear that. It's nice to have those things said about you, but we still have a lot to prove as a group. We haven't won a playoff series yet, and so we need to start by focusing on that today and tomorrow, and giving ourselves the most chance we can, Mike, year in and year out to contend. We obviously have an exciting young group of players. I think we've supplemented that with John and with some of our others. For now, for us, I don't look at this that there's any deadline on it. We want to continue to be a team that's in it every year and gives ourselves a chance every year. And I think the players have earned the right to have people excited about them. So I don't think they should shy away from it or let it inundate them or cause pressure to them. They should be excited about it. And I think in anything that you do in life, if people have expectations of you, it means that you've earned them and you have the talent and they believe that you can reach a certain potential. So I think that's a testament to the players that we have and their talent and the work that they've put in so far.
Tyler Ennis has been around the league for a while, but coming off maybe a couple of disappointing seasons for him. What made you look at him and want to bring him here and give him kind of a fresh start?
I think that we looked at Tyler as clearly a very talented player and a skilled player. And when looking at what we need to add to our team, he was in a unique circumstance. It didn't work out for him in Minnesota, but we've been able to see in Buffalo what he's capable of in terms of his talent. And so we thought that, given what he was exiting in Minnesota, that we could bring him in, work with him. He was willing to put the work in and voluntarily bring himself here in the summer repeatedly to work with our performance staff and our strength and conditioning staff and ready himself for the season. And so that to us, when we spoke to him, it was about July 2nd, 3rd, once his situation with Minnesota had ended, it was clear that he knew that he had a lot at stake moving forward, and we just thought we could provide him with a great opportunity for him to kind of get back on track and get rolling again, Kristen, and that was part of and then seeing him, how hard he worked in the summer kind of gave validation to what he said he was going to do, and so we're excited about him. He's going to get a great opportunity off the start here with Austin, and we'll roll from there.
Kyle, just on the backup goaltending situation.
Sure.
3 guys coming in on one-way deals, all 3.
4, but
Well, I mean, I assume Freddie's probably on the team, but
yeah, it's a good assumption.
probably, right? With Curtis and Sparks and Pickard, all 3 had tremendous seasons
Yeah.
last year. How do you foresee that situation playing out, and do you worry about the risk of maybe losing a younger player as a result of waivers, with that being the case?
Well, I mean, the goaltenders, I think we're fortunate. I never think you plan it to have it come out that way. We had we'd signed Garrett and Curtis to 2-year contracts in 2017, and then we traded for Calvin last year early in the year to solidify our depth at the position, and he had a great year with the Marlies. Sparks was the goalie of the year, and Curtis had a great year in the NHL, and then. And the forgotten guy that doesn't get mentioned a lot is Casimir Kaskasuo. His statistics were in the top 10 in the American League when we loaned him to Chicago. So we're excited about that. It's always a position where you want to have depth at rather than be trying to search for it when things don't go well. So I think we're in a very fortunate position with the talent of all of those four in particular, and with their character and what they're about as people. So we'll see how it plays out here. All of them are going to get a great opportunity in training camp and exhibition, and have the chance to continue to prove themselves, and we'll make the decision that's best for our team now and moving forward.
Kyle, it's customary for the general manager to address his team at the beginning of training camp.
Yep.
If you haven't done it yet, what will your message be, and what are your thoughts on that?
I think that'll be tonight in Niagara Falls. It'll be obviously my first time doing it at this level, Steve, and I've done it in the Sioux and with the Marlies in the past. And I think the key message, I try not to be long-winded and keep it to a very specific message. And for me, the message to our group is going to be, with the expectations on them and with the talent of the group, I think we can have success if we abide by our process every day and what each player does every day, what we do as a management group every day and a coaching staff every day to help us get better as the year goes along. I think we can have great success if we do that, but it's about not looking far ahead to the spring or to the playoffs. We have to get there first, and we have to set ourselves up for success once we're there by how we perform day in and day out during the season. And it will just be about continuing to push our group to become more process-oriented and not worrying about what the fans or anyone else says of what our potential is at the end of the year. We're not going to get to that point if we don't focus on the day-to-day and do everything that we can to maximize our potential individually and as a group day-to-day. So that'll be the extent of it. My message doesn't really change too often from year to year. It tends to always go back to that. So roll with that.
Kyle, furthering on Dave's question about the goaltending situation, you have guys like Justin Hall and Freddie Gauthier who would have to clear waivers if they try to get sent down to the Marlies. How much is that a factor in the final decision process about keeping them or sending them down?
I think every element of a player's status factors into the decision you make about them, how they perform, what their contract situation is, what their waiver situation is. But I think the two players you're talking about specifically have performed well at the NHL level, and they were obviously key parts for the Marlies all throughout last year. Freddie played against the other team's best players every shift, and Justin Hall played against the other team's best players every shift, and they all had success. I should say Hall and Marinson played together as the number one pairing on the team. So for us, I think they've proven themselves to the organization over the years. I'm excited to see them continue to develop here in training camp and exhibition, but they're very valuable members of the organization for us, and I'm excited for how they performed last year in the spring and continue to see them develop here in the fall, Mike.
Two more, Lance and Mark.
We knew all about Lou's rules. Can you enlighten us a couple of Kyle rules? And if facial hair will be one of them.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And I realize the implications of it, and I certainly respect why Lou. Those were his rules in New Jersey. There'll be the rules in with the Islanders as well. I have a bit of a variation in my belief, Lance, that these players if we go to what everyone wants us to be our ultimate destination in time and year in and year out, we're asking them for 9 months of their lives. We're asking for them for 9 months, and I think when you ask somebody to commit that amount of time, it's not just them, it's their family. And so I want the players to be at their best, whatever their individual best may be, and I think part of that is letting them really express themselves with in a professional manner, but to try to be themselves as best they can. And it's something I've gone back and forth with over the summer. But ultimately, what I've landed on is doing kind of what I'd done before, and I understand that some people may like that and some may hate it, but that's our decision, and that's what we'll do.
Kyle, you mentioned, starting with Nylander, might as well end with one on Willie, but you mentioned it's not an uncommon situation. It's your first year as an NHL GM, but you've been around hockey your entire life. How comfortable are you kind of in this situation, navigating a training camp with an RFA holding out?
Yeah, very comfortable. I think it hasn't changed my day-to-day whatsoever. We'll continue to work away at it, and we have a very specific process that we're going to follow. And with all of our players over the next number of years that are going to be coming up and needing new contracts, we're going to follow the same process. Our goal is to have sustained success here, and in order to do that in a salary cap system, you have to build a structure and abide by it and do things right by the players, but also right by the organization and give the collective group the best chance to have success. So things may not move along as quickly as people want as we chip away at it. Patience has always been something that I've preached and will live by, and confident that we'll continue to work away at it and come to a conclusion here in the coming days and weeks.